I came home to find my wife lying on the kitchen floor, her arm twisted unnaturally, shattered in two. The people who did this were wearing counterfeit Ho officer uniforms, claiming she had violated neighborhood standards by asking too many questions about the association's finances. They snapped Emma's arm as if it were nothing, a warning meant to silence her inquiries into the ongoing financial investigation. What those imposters didn't realize was that I'm not the kind of man who lets his family be harmed without consequence. I have biker. I stepped out into the cold, sterile hospital corridor and made the call that changed everything. My cousin Tommy answered on the third ring, the sound of classic rock and revving motorcycle engines echoing in the background. Tank, I said as road name, earned years ago with the Iron Wolves Motorcycle Club. Readership exploded overnight. Neighbors, journalists, and even former residents began flooding her with tips. I want that woman to pay for what she did to me, she said one afternoon, staring out the window at the bikers station near Diane's mansion. Tommy's handling it, I told her. Not enough, she snapped. I want her reputation destroyed completely. Rico's final act was pure genius. Through a contact in the city's maintenance department, he arranged for a water main repair near the community's Memorial Rose Garden, one of Diane's pet projects. When the construction crew arrived, Diane raced to the scene in a frenzy, shouting about permits and structurally sensitive areas. She micromanaged every shot. I stepped out into the cold, sterile hospital corridor and made the call that changed everything. My cousin Tommy answered on the third ring, the sound of classic rock and revving motorcycle engines echoing in the background. Tank, I said as road name, earned years ago with the Iron Wolves Motorcycle Club. Someone hurt Emma. They came into our house wearing fake Ho uniforms. They broke her arm. I need help, the kind that badges and cords can't provide. The music cut off instantly. I heard shouting, the sharp bark of orders, the sound of engines roaring to life. Then his voice came through, a low, calm, and deadly serious. Say no more, little cousin, Tommy said. Nobody lays a hand on family. We're on our way. 20 minutes later, the hospital parking lot shook with the sound of thunder. 12 Harley-Davidson motorcycles roared in formation, chrome flashing in the sunlight, engines rumbling like a storm rolling over the earth. People stopped mid-conversation, turning toward the sound. Nurses, visitors, even security guards frozen in place as a wall of leather and steel pulled in. Then the Iron Wolves walked in. They weren't a gang. They were family, men who had dropped everything the second they heard what had been done to Emma. At the front of the group strode Tommy Tank Rodriguez, 6'4", built like a fortress, every inch of him muscle and scars. A former detective, he'd left the force years ago under circumstances no one spoke about but everyone respected. When Tommy stepped into Emma's hospital room and saw her lying there, a paled, weak, arm bound in a thick cast, his jaw tightened with the kind of silent rage that doesn't fade until it finds resolution. He picked up the fake badge Max had dropped and turned it over slowly in his hand, studying the details with the practiced eye of a man who had spent years spotting forgeries and lies. Whoever did this, he said finally, his voice low and deliberate, chose the wrong family to mess with. The air in the room shifted. Every man behind him stood a little straighter. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about justice, in their own way. Would these bikers really go to war over a broken arm? Or had Tommy already sensed that something much darker was hiding beneath the surface, something that went far beyond one corrupt homeowners association? Watching 12 Harley-Davidsons roll into a hospital lot is a sight you never forget. The echo of those engines, that heavy, metallic thunder carried more than noise, it carried a promise. And when Tommy Tank Rodriguez strode through those hospital halls, 6'4" and 250 pounds of iron and determination, every person who crossed his path knew instinctively this was a man who did not bluff. When he looked down at Emma, something in him changed. The calm, disciplined detective was gone. What remained was family and vengeance, waiting to be unleashed. His expression told a story deeper than rage. It was the cold, deliberate fury of a man forged by years in law enforcement before life had taken him down another path. Whoever did this picked the wrong family to cross, he said quietly, his voice low but filled with conviction. I believed every word. Tommy studied the counterfeit badge Max had dropped, turning it between his fingers with the practiced precision of someone who had spent a lifetime spotting forgeries. "This wasn't a random attack, Dave," he said grimly. "Someone paid professionals to hurt Emma. That means we're up against something much larger than an angry Ho president." He looked at Emma with real concern. "You must have uncovered something that terrified them enough to risk this kind of escalation." Emma managed a faint smile through the haze of painkillers. "I guess my investigation struck a nerve," she whispered. But even through her exhaustion, I could see the fire in her eyes. That was when Tommy introduced Rico Blade Rodriguez, my younger cousin who had just entered the room. Rico was nothing like the stereotypical biker, clean-cut, quiet, more comfortable behind a keyboard than on a Harley. But Tommy called him their secret weapon, a former government data analyst whose career had ended under mysterious circumstances. "Rico's going to help us find out who we're really dealing with," Tommy said. Within an hour, Rico was deep in the hospital's security system, moving through it like it was second nature. Moments later, crystal-clear footage appeared on his laptop, multiple angles of Max Steele's attack and escape. "Facial recognition software is a beautiful thing when you know how to wield it," Rico said with a smirk. "Meet Max Steele, ex-military contractor, freelance enforcer for clients who prefer to remain invisible." But that wasn't the most shocking part. Rico had already traced Max's